Hello everyone, and thank you for joining Chat GPT for the SLP. My name is Kim Zajac. I'm a duly certified speech-language pathologist and audiologist serving secondary education learners in the Norton Public Schools in Norton, Massachusetts. In addition to my role as a speech and language pathologist, I also hold certification in the area of audiology. I consider myself to be a creative innovator, always interested in taking risks and inspiring myself and others to continue their learning process. I do this as a virtual practicum instructor at Emerson College in the Speech at Emerson graduate program. I do this as a board member with MassQ, as well as being an educator mentor in the Vital Prize Challenge and as an Adobe Creative Educator Leader. Today's session content will cover 5 things. We will start by exploring 8 things to know about Chat GPT. After that, we can explore a little more about what Chat GPT can do for SLPs in particular. We'll cover the power of the prompt and explore 5 quick takes and ways that you can use Chat GPT in your day-to-day practice. Lastly, I will share some resources with you to continue your learning and exploration using Chat GPT in your practice as an educator. The 8 things to know about Chat GPT are what it is and what it is not. You can see here there are 2 columns to clearly define the 2. Chat GPT is an assistant. It is input-driven, it is a time saver, and it is very adaptable. Chat GPT is not perfect. It is not emotionally intelligent. It is not knowledgeable after September 2021, and ChatGPT is not a replacement for human beings. There are many exciting applications through which AI can assist and enhance the day-to-day of an SLP. ChatGPT happens to be one of those. We will take a look at some of these things and keep in mind that this session is primarily targeting how AI and ChatGPT in particular supports SLPs, not necessarily the learners, but please do see my other session called AI Squared, All In for AI, for more on how AI can be leveraged with learners. ChatGPT, as a form of AI, can help the SLP with many daily practices, including content development, data organization, and documentation. SLPs can use ChatGPT for streamlining tasks like lesson planning, creating activities, games, materials, and even creating role-play scenarios. Data organization can be made more simplified, and SLPs can use data from spreadsheets to create visual stories, tables, bullet lists, rubrics, and all kinds of possibilities, again, with the help of ChatGPT. Documentation is always abundant for SLPs. We can use ChatGPT to support the process of writing goals, objectives, progress reports, evaluations, you name it. We can leverage this tool to make our day-to-day process supported, streamlined, and more simplified. Here I will share with you the ingredients of a power prompt. The first thing you need to do is establish the point of view. Tell ChatGPT what point of view you want used in the process of creating the product output. So for example, you might start off your prompt with, act as a middle school SLP. Next, you'll want to dictate the task. This means you need to basically pinpoint what you want ChatGPT to create for you. So for example, I could add on to my directive to the ChatGPT, create scenarios requiring flexible thinking to solve middle school social problems. Next, the importance of defining the audience. You need to tell the ChatGPT who you're building the product for. So we might add on, create scenarios for middle school students to practice flexible thinking with social problem solving. It's really important to keep your language clear and concise, avoid the use of jargon, and open-ended questions. Another important thing to keep in mind is to specify the format. Create scenarios. That's what we've asked it to do. But we might like for it to be created in bullet list form, in a table, in task cards, or even told as a story. Lastly, know that you can use follow-up prompts. You can increase the specificity of the output in a continual basis. One option is that you could ask for ChatGPT to translate your product into another language. Or you might ask for the ChatGPT to create multiple choice options for responses in response to those scenario problems they created in the first place.
Are you ready to revolutionize your professional learning? It's time to ignite your passion with EduMatch. Inspire, connect, and grow. Access over 150 professional learning facilitators and explore a wide range of educational topics. This is not just professional development, this is a movement. Discover how EduMatch can support your school or district. Connect with us today and make a world of difference for your students. To learn more, visit us online at edumatch.org.
As promised, here are 5 examples of ChatGPT on the quick. In the next couple of minutes, I will walk you through the use of ChatGPT to create lessons, games, activities, to use data, as well as create documentation. Here you will see I enter a prompt into the ChatGPT. I ask it to ask as a middle school SLP and create a lesson plan to target figurative language for middle school students. I then go one further and ask for it to create a game where the middle school students can practice their skills with 5 different types of figurative language. It creates a bingo game, but I like board games instead, so I asked it to create a board game. I also asked the ChatGPT to create the cards to go with the board game, which it generously offered and created 20 different varieties of figurative language. I wanted the cards to be placed in a table so I could have a record for keeping data, and also I wanted to be able to print them out and cut them so I might laminate them and keep them for prolonged use over time with different students. Then I asked ChatGPT to create a home program, something that would help the students to practice their use of figurative language beyond the walls of the classroom. And then I took a data set and asked the ChatGPT to create a story to speak to the students' progress over time, targeting their goals of their IEP. Sometimes I also like to turn data sets into progress reports, things that can capture progress over time. We need to do this periodically. We shouldn't use the ChatGPT progress reports completely on their own. We should use them as starting points to complement any data or ideas that we want to communicate to the caregivers. Lastly, we also want to communicate with caregivers about carryover and transfer, especially in the in-between months when school is out over the summer. This is a nice way to prevent regression and recoupment. As promised, some resources to keep your engines going forward as you explore the use of ChatGPT as an SLP. Number 1 resource is a book written by Mary Howard. It's known as Artificial Intelligence to Streamline Your Teacher Life, the ChatGPT Guide for Educators. I cannot stress how wonderful this is as a get-started resource for any educator interested in dipping their toe in the water and building an understanding and an amount of trust for ChatGPT before diving in. It also supports you while you're diving in, gives you particular prompts, and charges you with tasks to experience ChatGPT personally before applying it in a more professional realm. The second recommendation as a resource is a book written by Donnie Piercy. It is known or called The 50 Strategies for Integrating AI into the Classroom. Again, another gem that walks you into the ChatGPT arena step by step with really clear examples and models for application. Thank you so much for joining for this session, Chat GPT for the SLP. I hope that you can take what we discussed and learned about today back to your classroom, back to your school for immediate use and streamlining your day-to-day practices. If you are interested in following me, you can find me on Twitter. My handle is @Zajac. SLP. You can also find my link tree there, and I would be really excited to talk to any of you who have ideas, questions, or have also collected your own stories for using ChatGPT in your practice as an SLP.